In 2021, I made a video talking about how to make a video portfolio website using Adobe Portfolio, and that video has way beyond exceeded my expectations for viewership and becoming a resource for people to ask questions about how to use this program that I haven't found a lot of support for on the internet. So I figured it was time for an update, as I'm wanting to make a new website for a video production company I'm wanting to start, and I figured I could go back and answer some questions that have come along the way about how to do specific things in Adobe Portfolio. Last time I took a more time-lapse approach to this, as I was making the website in real time, and I just wanted to get a video out and give some kind of resource to you guys. But this time I'll actually slow down and talk about how some of these different features in this website builder work. Alright, let's get on to it. Alright, so starting from the top here, this is our main loading screen that we're going to get when you go into adobeportfolio.com. As you can see here, I've got a couple of different websites. In fact, if we go into this website here, this is the one that we used as the test bed for the last video that we did. It is still active. This is still the main website that I use for my professional resources and anytime I'm referring somebody to my work. The problem with it now is that it's a bit disheveled as far as putting together a consistent image for what I want to do moving forward. You know, I have previous projects here that I've either been part of, combined with personal projects, combined with rate cards, combined with contact forms, and yeah, it's a good way to kind of dump all of my stuff into one spot, but for creating a brand, it is not very cohesive as to what kind of content I want to make. You have to do a lot of digging to get through a lot of these things, so I figured instead of trying to refresh this entire thing, it would probably be best, especially since with Portfolio, if you have the Creator Suite, you have access to 5 websites at a time, to just start from scratch here. So that's where we're going to start here. I wanted to start from this point because one of the questions that I got asked about, somebody was asking about how to be able to put certain photos or certain videos side by side on a website or on this website builder. And if I understand how the question was being asked, I think they were asking how to be able to add different photos side by side like this in a grid style. Well, the answer is that if you don't choose the right theme from the beginning, then it's going to limit the ways that you can actually lay out your photos. So you go to a design like the Andreas here, you can't actually add photos to either side of these blocks here. That's one of the limitations of Portfolio, and before we get too deep into this, I will say that is one limitation of Portfolio, is that it is not the most flexible website builder that you can pick. It's got a couple of really nice themes that get you going right off the bat, but if you need ultimate control about the assets and what you can upload, you may want to go a different route. But the reason I keep recommending Portfolio to anybody who doesn't even have a website in the first place is because a lot of people are already paying for this Creative Cloud subscription of ours, and it's already expensive as it is. Why add another website service on top of that price? For me, that's why Portfolio is the best option when it comes to putting a website builder together, because the best tool is the one that you have in your toolbox already. So enough on that. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go through and choose a theme based off of the style that I'm wanting to do. I would go through, and as I showcased in my first video, I made a drawing of how I wanted the website to be laid out and talking about the certain directories that I wanted to have people be able to click down. So take just a minute to go and do that, and if it looks good on paper, you should be able to match it to one of these. I believe that this Marta theme is going to work best for me because I want a nice big header up here, or a masthead as they call it, to be able to showcase video, which is something I'm going to explain how to include that because I get that question a lot in the comments. One nice thing, I'm not sure if other website builders do this, but I love the fact that you can do this in Portfolios. You can look at it as if it's being viewed on different devices, so I can just test real quick here how this thing is going to work, or how it's going to view on a cell phone, which is most likely where people are going to be looking at this content. So that is probably the theme that I'm going to pick. Let's just go ahead and lock it in here. Excellent. And then one of the first things that we're going to want to do is if you go out to the pages here, so you can change the name of this website. So you can only change your subdomain 5 times. So if you know what you're going to do, lock it in by all means. And if you've already purchased a domain name, then yeah, absolutely just go ahead and not lock it in here. But for me, I know exactly what we're going to do with this name, but I'm going to purchase a domain name for it so that way we don't have this My Portfolio on the end of it. That works nicely when it's just your name, but if it's a production company, I don't think that My Portfolio in between the .com and all of that, it just gets a little bit bulky, but that's just something that we'll leave in there for now. I know what it's going to be, but we'll come back to that. So we'll call that done. And now, yeah, here we are. We've got a blank canvas. We can add our pages, we can add our mastheads, and there's a lot of different things that we can do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to fill up some of these spaces. I'm going to do it in a time-lapse style, just like I did for the first video. And then once we get to a good breaking point, I'm going to go back and explain some of the processes that I did. So hold tight, and we will be back in just a second. Alright, so we got a base layer here, and I think now is a good time to come back in and start to talk about some of the finer points about how to customize some of these things on the builder. So, as you may have seen during the montage there, we set up our different pages with our different projects. We integrated our different brand colors from this brand guidelines that I've created for this brand that we're going to make this website for. So we've gone through and created different background colors, you know, put some mottos in, all this stuff, but obviously it's looking very blank. You would never want to put something out like this, right? So now we're going to start to add some of the flavor to this website. So the biggest question that I keep getting asked about is how to add a video to the masthead background up here. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So I'm going to assume that you've already got a video asset set aside for this, that you've created something specific for your masthead. But even if you haven't and you have like a specific clip that you want to put on, this is how you go to it. So you're going to go over here to the masthead options, and usually this is a good rule of thumb for this builder, is that if there's anything in a specific area that you're looking for, you know, go to the navigation bars within that specific area. You know, you want to add your logo, then go to that customization bar. You want to change how these collection headers look, then you go to this customization bar here. But since we're on the masthead, we're going to go to the masthead options here. We're going to hit customize. Now this is where I think people get tripped up, is because obviously you see you have your customizations over here, but there's not a whole lot that you can do based off of just what's in this bar here. What you actually have to do is you have to click this drop down menu at the top of this bar here, and when you drop it down you get a whole bunch of different options that you can customize for that top navigation bar for the masthead. So, you know, say in this masthead down here you want to add your social icons, or you want to add a button, or maybe 2 buttons. You can add all of those things, a scroll down arrow, you know, etc. You get these options to play around with in that masthead. But what we're wanting to adjust right now is the background. So if we go to the masthead background, you can see you've got an option to upload media right here. So you've got options and overlays, upload. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit upload. And I've actually got a masthead video created for this page. So this is going to be the work masthead. So that's what I'm going to upload here. I'm going to click that. I'll hit open. And then it's going to process for a little bit. Yep, so it says it's going to take a minute. You'll see processing down here. Then we sit and wait and sit. And usually with this stuff, you can go about, you know, continuing on with your website while it processes, and then when it's done, it'll appear. There we go. So now you have a video masthead. Now, the one problem or the one thing that you may want to consider is that The resolution is not up for you to decide. They are going to obviously compress it down a whole lot to make it web friendly. However, I would say that that's not going to be a reflection on your work. This is just the limitations of the website builder, and I think most people are going to be able to forgive that, just to be able to add some motion and some clarity to what it is that you're doing on first glance. And then the hope there is that everything that's in your masthead, you're going to have higher versions of in your pages in your website. That'll be the next step that we're going to do, but I just wanted to show you that process since I get a lot of questions on how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to montage and show you how to add some artwork and build out these pages, so that way we have some content to show on this website. Be back in a second. Alright, we're at a good point here to take a look at what we've got so far. So we've got 3 different pages here: commercial, narrative, and contact us. I'm probably going to add 1 or 2 more collections, kind of explaining what the business does, to be able to showcase a couple more photos and explain a couple more processes. But overall, this is the main stuff that I want to showcase, is the 2 kinds of work that I would like to be doing into the future, which is my commercial and my narrative work. So there's a couple specific settings that I wanted to showcase to make sure that you guys don't get tripped up here. So the first thing is back to the video mastheads. As you can see here, I've got one video masthead, and then if I go to narrative, I have a different video masthead. And I may just let this roll out on the time lapse here, but I'm going to show you again real quick. If you want to have different mastheads on each of your pages that you're doing, there's a specific setting that you need to click for your masthead options, and that's to make the customizations unique to this page. If you don't click this, then that masthead is going to apply to each page that you have a masthead option applied for. So make sure that that option is clicked. As you can see, make sure that these customizations are unique to this page. Make sure that is selected, so that way when you go and make different mastheads for your different pages, they will be unique to each page. One of the other things that I was asked about is how to get pictures side by side versus like on top of each other. So I may have shown that in the time lapse here, but I'll show you again how to change that. So if you go to, in this collection, if you go to page covers and you go to layout options, you have these columns, gutters, margins, bottom margins options. And what that allows you to do is each of these pages, you can decide how many columns you want them to showcase in. So, do you want them 4x1, 4x2, 1x1? Do you want big pictures like this? I think this really just depends on how many pictures and assets that you have that you want to showcase. For me, I've only got like 6 to 8 per page, and this screen that I'm on is an ultra wide, so it looks the margins look pretty thick on the sides. But if I wanted to, give these some more spaces, I could increase the gutter size, and that would split them up a little bit more. I liked them close together, so I'm going to put that back. You can decide like how far off the top of the bottom you want them. That's just for you to go and have fun with. Figure out what works for you, but that's the joy of the website builders, is you can play with stuff, you can figure out what works for you, and there's no permanent changes until you click publish on your site, so mess around with it. And there's one other tool that I wanted to showcase for you guys before we move on as well. So you can see that I have these different colors for like the rollover banner, and I've got the fancy thing of it, like changing colors when you roll down, and you can adjust like the overlay and the rolling colors. But how do you choose these colors in the first place to make it look cohesive? So I found this tool online called coolors, I think is what it's called. At least that's how the website looks to be spelled out. And I love this site because it really gives you a good look at how colors are going to play together in different environments, you know, with different uses of branding. So I just went through here and I just generated a palette of colors until I found one that matched the style that I was going for. And all of these palette colors work awesome. And, you know, say that there's a specific color, like that yellow isn't to your liking. Well, you can go through here and just change that yellow until it matches what you're wanting. So, all right, that's a little more subdued. So there you go. That is an awesome resource for if you do not have a lot of graphic design penchant like I do. You can just go and generate a palette for yourself, customize it based off of your personal ones, and you can have a brand package put together very, very quickly. And that's what I've been referencing here, is the typefaces and the colors that I pulled from that website. All right, so that is where we're at so far. I'm going to work on actually filling out these pages, because if we click through right now, we don't have anything on these pages. So I'm going to get to work filling out some of these pages, kind of showing you what some of this information could look like. And when I have that, I think we will come back one last time and we'll finish this project off. Be back in a second. All right, so we've gone through and added all of the content to the different pages that we want to have here. So if I click on any of these pages now, or most of them, they're going to have content inside of them, as you were seeing during the montage there. So what I wanted to do before we wrap up here is actually show you how I'm going to build out one of these pages from scratch, because a lot of the work that you probably saw was me copy and pasting it over from an older site. There wasn't a lot of actually going out and finding those assets. So I want to show you the process of what that would look like going from scratch here. So if we go over to narrative, let's see what a new page is. So yeah, here's a good one. So here's a mini documentary that I made on YouTube about the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, and I wanted to add this to my narrative works. I didn't have it in my old website, but I think it's a pretty cool project, so I wanted to add it, and I was really happy with how the visuals came out. So let's go through the process that I was doing to add content to this website. So first thing I'm going to do is, if you leave this page header as it is, you're going to change the name of how it shows up on the actual collection page out here. So if you say Sturgis Come As You Are, if I change this in the page header, customize it here. Yeah, so if we call this, let's just call it Sturgis Documentary, if I can spell it, documentary. So let's just say that's what we're calling it now. So Sturgis Documentary. If I go back out to narrative, you're going to see that that is now the new name for the page on the collection, which is not what I want. So we're going to go back in here and we're going to change it back. All right, cool. So that's what we want the outside page to be called. So if we want to change what the actual title inside of the page is going to look like, what we can do is we can go over here to this slider over here. We can turn the page header off, and then we can add our own text layer to call it whatever we want. So we'll call it Sturgis Mini Documentary. Excellent. So now what we can do here is, as I was saying before, usually if you go into the customize buttons or mastheads right here, you'll get the options to be able to change certain parameters. However, with text in this, it's kind of, it doesn't work that way. All you have in that modification box here is to reorder the page content and your margins. If you want to actually change like the size, color, and font of text inside of a page, you have to highlight it, and then you get a normal text editing bar up here, and you can create some formatting styles here. So they've got like header, subheader, paragraph, and you can edit what your text styles are going to look like, so that way you don't have to go and customize everything ahead of time. I've put my fonts that I want to use for each of the headers and subheaders inside of these text styles. So since this is going to be the new header of the page, I'm going to call that the header. We'll change this font color here to be white so it stands out against the blue. And there we go. Now we've changed the name of the page without actually changing it on the outside page container. Great. So we'll go in there. You can add more text, as I've been doing. What I've been doing for my portfolio and for this website is to kind of showcase what the creative roles that I had on each of these projects was. Next thing I wanted to showcase is how to actually pull content into these pages. So there's two ways that you can do this. One is you can upload a video directly to the website here. Now, there is one problem if you are going to go this direction, which if I go and pull this project, I will demonstrate exactly what that issue turns out to be. The export on this video was only a 4 GB file, and if I hit open here, you're going to get an issue here. It's going to say refresh page, but really what's going on there is that the end file is actually just too big for this player to be able to pull up. I think you have a limit on your video size of about 50 megabytes per file, or 49 megabytes. So if your content is bigger than that, which if you're showcasing a full piece like that, it's definitely going to be, then the better option is to go into the embed and just embed your video directly from a video player like YouTube or Vimeo. And if you want to showcase the highest fidelity and highest resolution of your end projects anyways, this is what you should be doing 100% of the time. Get the embed codes from YouTube or Vimeo, and that's going to be the best way to showcase your content. So we'll go over to our YouTube page here. I want to pull this Sturgis documentary. And if you go into your share, well, actually, no, not there. If you go into viewing it on YouTube, all right, cool. And you go into share down here, you have the option to embed right there. So you can grab this entire embed code, copy it, you can change different parameters, player controllers, start, etc., etc. And you can bring it over to your website builder and you can drop the embed code in there. Now, if you leave it right there, you're going to run into an issue right off the bat, which is that the video size player, there we go, sometimes is not the full size that you want it to be. You know, this is a big screen here. I want it to take up more real estate than that. So what you can do is in the embed code, in this iframe width parameters right here, you can change these values to be a full 16:9 aspect ratio. So I'm going to change our width to be 1920. And our height to be 1080. And then if I hit save on that embed, there we go. That brings up the size of that window. And obviously, since it's an embed code, you can change the size and aspect ratio of it however you want to. If you want this to be a full 4K and take up the entire screen, knock yourselves out, go for it. I do want it to kind of match the size that the photos come into on different parts of the website, so I'm going to leave it at that 1920, plus that's going to be the resolution you're watching it back at anyways. So that's the best way to get content onto your website, is to add it in the embed option right there. So before we move on from here, I'm going to show you a couple of other things that you can add on. I like to add on photo grids usually of everything, because photo and video, they usually go hand in hand, and usually if you've got one, you've got the other too, right? So we may as well showcase a couple of photos that came from this documentary as well. So if I go on to our large here, and something to be mindful of when you're pulling these photos into the photo grid is the widths and the heights that you have, because Portfolio will do a decent job of kind of guessing and making an automatic layout of the images that you pull in, but sometimes, and I ran into this issue a couple times, where I was bringing in more vertical photos than wide ones. It did not know what to do with those vertical photos, so it actually just squashed those photos, and they kind of became not useful in that grid. So just keep in mind how many photos you're bringing in and the aspect ratios between, you know, tall versus wide. These are all pretty much the same size, or at least these three are. This one here is a little bit wider, but we're gonna see what it does to try and automatically account for that. So yeah, there we go. And then if we hit done on that, there you go. Now you have a photo grid to add along with the videos that you've got. And then I usually like to add in a little bit of context with text here. So I'll call this photography. And then I'll go subheader, make it white. Boom. And then we've got a little photo grid to go along with our main piece of content up here. And there we go. That is pretty much what I would do for a page. And one more thing I want to showcase about this that I really like about this website builder, I'm sure others do this as well, but after you do a couple of pages like this, go and take a look at the preview and look at it in different environments. So this is going to showcase it on a website, like on computer viewing, like what we're doing here. This isn't exactly the most useful view of it for me because, as I said, I've got an ultra-wide monitor, so my margins on my left and my right are going to be ridiculously wide. But what I like to do is I like to actually go to the phone view here, and now you can really get a sense of how this stuff is going to display on a screen. So if we go here and we take a look at a couple of our different projects, you can see how the mastheads are laying out, how these projects are laying out. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how the design of this is actually shaping up. One final thing I wanted to showcase here before you go and publish your website is that you have a tab over here called Settings. Now, Settings is pretty important for how your website is going to be viewed once it gets onto the World Wide Web. So there's a lot of things that you can adjust over here, your domain name, what your homepage is going to be. If you want to add Google tracking analytics, which I do just because I like to see the click-throughs that you get every now and then. Each one of these tabs is absolutely worthwhile to go through and make sure that you optimize it for what your website's going to be, because like if you leave this search optimization tab as it is, you know, the website title, if you try and search it, is actually just going to come up as my name, which is not what I want for this website, because I want it to be referred to by what the brand name is going to be. So go through and change your website title, add a description for it, and all of these things are, if you go to any website, you know, let's just do a search for actually, I've got one for business networking vets. So that's going to be your website title, and then that's going to be your website description. And you want to make sure that you have those things filled out, because that's part of search engine optimization and what people are going to be searching for. So if you can think of how you want people to view your portfolio and what you want them to be searching for, that can help you dial in what these description and website title names should be. And upload things like your favicon, your web clip icon. All of these things just help to create a consistent image on what your website's going to look like out in the web. So yeah, go through each of those and customize them. It takes no time at all, and it's going to be worth it. Overall, I think if I was to go publish this right now, I would be very happy with how this turned out. All right, so that's a wrap on our latest website. Hope you guys found this useful. Thank you very much for commenting over all of the years and asking questions about how to use this tool. As I said, I find that the support on it is very limited out there, so resources like this, I hope can become a place where people can ask questions about how to do different functions. And as you did with the last video, please leave me comments if you are using this tool and have any questions about it. I always try to get back to you as quickly as I can. And yeah, as I said, hopefully you find this useful. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.